Quite frankly, I cannot believe what I have just seen. I hope everybody had a very Merry Christmas, and don't you just love Boxing Day, the football on, football galore, watching my dear mate Adi Oladipo doing the business on Amazon. Isn't it fantastic? Just watched Man City against Everton, and I genuinely cannot believe it. I can't believe my eyes. Like, it's getting weirder and weirder. It's getting more difficult to process and more difficult to process. It's getting more and more unpredictable. Manchester City's run of form in all competitions now reads, in their last 13 games, played 13, they have won 1. They have drawn 3. They have lost 9. They have lost 9 out of 13. They have conceded in that period 28 goals. They're conceding goals galore, goals for fun. And the headline of today, it's Erling Haaland. Look, there's so much to talk about with Man City, isn't there? There's so much to dissect. There's so much to focus on. I mean, where you draw the line as to try to comprehend what has happened to Manchester City, I do not know. People trace it right back to the Rodri issue, the Rodri injury. Perhaps that's it. Although for me, this is a bigger problem. It's got to be so much bigger. There is an epidemic at that club, and it feels like it is so much bigger than Rodri. But wherever you draw the line, whatever you think the issues are, whatever you think the underlying variables of Manchester City's crisis are, today, it's about Erling Haaland. You know, we can talk about Pep Guardiola getting it wrong. Absolutely true. We can talk about his reluctance to play James McAtee, who, let's face it, must be a woeful footballer. He must simply not be good enough because he is not getting a look in when so many players are playing below par. It simply doesn't make sense. You can look at the recruitment issues. You could look at the lack of recruitment. You could look at the revolving door, the players that they've let leave, the players that could be doing a job for them now, the Cole Palmers, the Liam Delaps, for example. Could Lavia be doing a better job than Mateo Kovacic? Almost definitely. But today, I think it's more simple than that. Today, I truly believe, it's Erling Haaland. You simply cannot miss a penalty when your team so desperately needs you to score. You cannot miss a penalty when you are the personality, the public face of that club, and you were gifted an opportunity at home to score from the spot. You are a world-class, ruthless, goal-scoring centre-forward. You have no choice but to score when your team are crying out for it. And the penalty that was taken by Erling Haaland was simply pitiful. It wasn't unlucky. It wasn't a tremendous save. Don't get me wrong. Jordan Pickford did really well. And do you know who else deserves a massive pat on the back? Seamus Coleman. Now, there will be some very self-righteous football fans among you that will be getting the hump with me saying those words. There will be some pious football fans who perhaps see football on a different playing field to everyone else, who think that that kind of thing is unjust, that kind of thing is unnecessary, that kind of thing is something that we should scoff at. And let me tell you this, you are wrong. Seamus Coleman deserves a knighthood for what he did. Seamus Coleman getting in the ear of Erling Haaland, whispering like Lady Macbeth, giving it the big one, making sure that Erling Haaland second doubted himself, making sure that something else was in Erling Haaland's mind as he struck the penalty. Seamus Coleman, huge. Great play from Jordan Pickford. He did the famous was it Shane Warne who did the cricket bowl when he sort of put his tongue out at the same time. It was excellent work from Jordan Pickford as well, and a good save, but a comfortable save, because Erling Haaland wasn't there. He wasn't present. He wasn't doing what he should be doing. There should be no negotiation scoring that penalty. It should be hitting the side netting. It shouldn't be a comfortable save that is basically 2 foot away from Jordan Pickford. Really, really poor from him. But irrespective of everything else that has gone on at Manchester City, they need to be winning that game. Look, Everton have done well. Sean Dyche has done really well in what was a very tricky period. They smashed Wolves to bits, didn't they? They obviously got a great result against us last week. They got a draw. They got a draw against Manchester City. They got a draw against Arsenal. And it's very difficult to play against Man City. You know, when I was on the overlap recently with Baz, he really made me laugh. And he said something along the lines of Sean Dyche is the kind of manager that wants and dreams of 38 0-0s in a season. And I think there's truth in that. But there is no doubt that Sean Dyche is an expert of stopping others. He might not be an expert at encouraging his team to play exciting, expansive, unpredictable football, but at stopping the opposition. You know, Tarkowski and Jordan Pickford and obviously Branthwaite, gets them doing a job. He really does, and he does it very well. But there was one moment actually towards the end where I thought they were going to win it. You know, when they broke 4-on-2, I thought, oh my God, this is actually going to be catastrophic for Pep Guardiola, because I said it, I asked the question, and I know that you cannot sack Guardiola. I know that. I know that the best person to put this right is Guardiola. I know that Manchester City could easily finish 12th in the league this season and bounce back and win the league next year. I know that they could possibly finish 12th in the league this season and potentially win the Champions League. Pep Guardiola going back to Bayern Munich, going back to the Allianz Arena, the arena where he failed to win the Champions League, to win the Champions League with Man City in the most traumatic season that he's ever had. I know that he is capable of all those things, but it is an half unlikely. But at some point, we need to be questioning where Guardiola is getting it wrong, because his team selection is woeful, and he's getting that massively wrong. And Erling Haaland has been a spectator for weeks. Remember when they got battered by Liverpool at Anfield? In that first half, bearing in mind Virgil van Dijk versus Erling Haaland is seen as being a marquee moment of the season, shooting towards the Kop in a game against your biggest rivals at the time for the title. If Man City had won that game, people saw it at the time that their title credentials were back on track and their title charge would be relit. They would win that game at Anfield and launch a serious and sustained bid to win the Premier League title. Erling Haaland was a spectator in that first half. Do you know he touched the ball four times in the first half? And one of those times, can you believe, was a kickoff. Where is Haaland? And today was the same. Haaland has cost his team yet again. And Pep Guardiola needs to make a bold and brave and decisive move. Because James McAtee, who I'm led to believe is an exceptional footballer, James McAtee is somebody who I have been told is ready to play. They've made the mistake with Cole Palmer. They've arguably made the mistake with Liam Delap. Surely now it's getting to the stage where if McAtee doesn't play, he is going to have to leave. Because he's not getting minutes in this team. And this is the worst Man City team of, the best part of a decade. You know, they have conceded more goals this calendar year than they have conceded since 2016. That is how bad it has been. Nearly a decade. That is how open their back line is. That is how poor their back line has been. So it really is getting to the stage where something needs to change. And if James McAtee can't get in what I perceive to be the worst Manchester City team of, a decade, then what's the point? You know, he plays in a very similar position to Doku. He plays in a very similar position to Phil Foden. He plays in a very similar position to Savinho, to Bernardo Silva. So if those players are playing... Why am I out of focus? Bear with me. If those players are simply not playing to the level that is required, then what I don't understand... There we go. Then what I don't understand is why James McAtee cannot be worth a punt. Surely there has to be room for him in the team. Surely it's worth rolling the dice. And surely it's worth pushing Phil Foden as a false nine, maybe bringing McAtee into the team. Because Haaland is getting it all wrong. And he deserves to be dropped. Huh? Oh, what you're telling me is that I was correct. Is that what you were telling me? You know, I've just put it on Twitter. You know do you know what I find amazing at this time of year? I don't know about you, but I'm sure because you're normal, I assume, that this time of year, everything's just a little bit nicer. Everything's just a little bit kinder. Everything's a little bit more humorous. And I put something on Twitter today, just off the back of watching Haaland in that match, where I basically just said that I was correct about everything that I said about Erling Haaland 3 years ago. Obviously, that was said tongue-in-cheek. Obviously, Erling Haaland could easily have won a Ballon d'Or the year Manchester City won a treble. Obviously, I understand that. But I put it on Twitter. I said, I was bang on the money. I said it was disrespectful to compare Harry Kane to Erling Haaland, disrespectful to the establishment. The establishment were Kane and Salah. I stand by that. I do think that on that, I was correct. But I wrote at the end, deck the halls, made it festive, and I said, yet another Rory W. People have gone wild. Nuance, humour, sarcasm, it is totally lost on Twitter. On some level, I suggest go and have a look because it is almost comical how people have reacted. But I do think that Erling Haaland is massively struggling. I do think that Manchester City are now... This is the most unpredictable thing that could have possibly happened this season. I mean, since the start of last month, so since the start of November, no Premier League team has earned less points than Manchester City. They have earned 5 points since the start of November. That is relegation form. Southampton, who are going to go down, Southampton are arguably going to go down with a fewer points tally to what Derby accrued, which was 11? There's no guarantee that Southampton with a new manager will get that. Manchester City since November have earned less points than them. 1 win in 13 games. It's just unbelievable. But we have to give an awful lot of credit here to Sean Dyche, who picks up yet another precious point against the perceived Big Six. He's amazing, isn't he? They had a really tough run of fixtures. The Liverpool game is obviously called off, but it was Arsenal, Chelsea, Man City. And basically, this season will be a huge success for Sean Dyche, because anything that involves not going down if you are Everton, success is survival. And I believe that they will survive. But today is all about Erling Haaland and how he struggles in front of goal. Like it's what, 2 Premier League goals from his last 9 top flight games. After 11 goals from his first 9. Jeez. I mean, it is... Something needs to change, and Pep Guardiola actually needs to find the formula for sorting that one out. Going to go and watch the rest of the football now, so I will undoubtedly see you in a bit. Chelsea about to battle Fulham, so I will enjoy that, and I'll see you soon. Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.